Welcome to another edition of the Monday Night Wars. This is WCW side. It's Nitro, Week 14, December the 11th, 1995. The Monday Night Wars come to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, Flair country, as he would be in the main event with Arn Anderson taking on Hulk Hogan and Sting. This is the 15th episode of Nitro, but the 14th week they go at it in the Wars. Won't make you wait for the ratings. The ratings were Nitro drew at 2.6, Raw drew at 2.5. It was a 0.1 victory, so that makes the total now 6 wins for Nitro, 6 wins for Raw, and 2 draws. Commentated by Steve McMichael, Eric Bischoff, and Bobby Heenan, this Nitro. From Charlotte, North Kakalaki, as they call it. I don't call it that. That's what I've heard it been called. Nitro begins with Bischoff mentioning the main event, like I just mentioned. That we already told you the main event. Steve McMichael says Hogan better watch his back because Sting is best buddies with Luger. Sting explained this last week that he's best buddies with Lex, but he'll keep him out of your way. But that didn't end up happening tonight. Let's get to it. They start in the ring with Eddie Guerrero and Mr. JL. Eddie and JL get no entrances. They go from Bischoff talking about the problems with Sting and Hogan over the last few weeks, and then they jump right to their bell rings. They go right from the broadcast booth in the ring, and 2 guys are in the ring with no entrances, Eddie Guerrero and Mr. JL, and they just start wrestling just like that. That's new. Eddie with a springboard moonsault into a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. He's just awesome. Eddie is a springboard moonsault attempt. He lands on his feet. Mr. JL misses it. A couple of leapfrogs, and then an abdominal stretch by Eddie to JL, wearing him down. A powerbomb attempt, crossbody by JL, an atomic drop. Eddie Guerrero with a Hurricane Rana to JL. Then inside the ring, Eddie with a springboard splash, and JL comes off the top rope and misses. Eddie counters with a roll-up and gets the victory. Eddie wins at 4:30. I rate the match 3 stars. It was that good for a match that's 4 to 5 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes, not 45 minutes. Mean Gene talks to Luger about everything going down the triangle match at Starrcade. He talks about Sting and Savage mostly. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff takes on the Disco Inferno. Paul Orndorff's music is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life. And I just watched the Disco Inferno come to the ring, so that's really saying something there. Orndorff wins with a side suplex, and opera singer keeps calling him Mr. Wonderful as his music plays. He won at 223. I rated it 3/4 of a star. The opera singer was going, "He's just wonderful, Mr. Wonderful." Mean Gene then says, "Let's bring out the 4 Horsemen to get a huge pop in Charlotte, North Carolina." Arn, Flair, and Pillman come out, not Benoit, but these 3 come out instead. Arn against Hogan and Sting. Benoit must not have been there tonight, because I don't see why they'd leave him out of this segment, and it's not like he was edited out. Gene asks what it's like to be the Horseman along with Benoit, Pillman. See, they say his names. He's not edited out. Great thrill to be a part of a great dynasty. Pillman says Hogan wanted to be a bad guy dressing in black, and Pillman said that Hogan wanted to be a horseman deep down, and now he ditched the black for the red and yellow. And this is when Hogan dressed as black. If you haven't been watching my other Nitro reviews, Hogan dressed in black as a good guy, but then he dropped it after a few weeks. So you could tell he wanted to foreshadow, or he wanted to just be in black. That's pretty much why he had his mustache shaved and everything else at the time. But Pillman fit that into this promo, saying Hogan wanted to be a horseman. Everybody woos when Flair starts talking because it's mean by God, Gene. Woo! It's big cities, bright lights. Orndorff comes out and interrupts it and calls Pillman a punk, says he has respect for Arn and Flair, but not Pillman, and then they go at it. Arn ends up pile driving Paul Orndorff on the concrete right by the stage, and Orndorff goes out in a stretcher. A Starrcade promo is aired with New Japan faces off against WCW, and as we come back from the break, they're carrying Paul Orndorff out. Both companies are really going with the kayfabe injuries at the time. Shawn Michaels' concussion on the Raw side, too, at the same time. Lex Luger with Jimmy Hart versus Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan goes at it with Luger. He ties up. He hits a hip lock and a clothesline. Luger's taking bumps all over by Duggan. Luger fights back. Lex is Irish whipped to the clothesline out of the corner by Duggan. The Lex spot Duggan rolling up wrist tape just so Jimmy Hart gets on the apron. Duggan goes to talk to Jimmy Hart, and Jimmy Hart gets knocked off, and Duggan turns around. He goes in the torture rack. Lex wins at 2:44 with a submission with the torture rack on Duggan. 3/4 of a star. Mean Gene gets a word with Macho Man Randy Savage, the world champion. Dig it. Savage says he's not thinking about anything. He'll defend the world title against the Giant next week on Nitro. Savage was so full of energy no matter what. It's awesome. It's awesome no matter what he says. I'm your friend. But Savage is talking about being friends with Sting, and he hates Luger. He says he hates Luger, but everyone needs to take a chill pill. That's what Savage says, of all people. Hulk Hogan and Sting take on the Four Horsemen next. Arn Anderson and Ric Flair in Charlotte country. And Ric Flair country, Charlotte, North Carolina. Hogan doesn't know who he can trust, Heenan says. Arn Anderson ties up with Sting with a clean break. Then Arn with a go-behind waist lock. Forearm to the back. This was a really good match here. I'm not going to do play-by-play, but it was an amazing match. I could do play-by-play. I wrote it out for some reason. It was just a really climatic match. There was a side headlock, takedown, drop toe hold, some chain wrestling to start, then it turned into a brawl. Then Flair raked the eyes and went into his offense and started to attack the leg to soften him up for the figure four. Sting came in and did a Scorpion Deathlock, but then Flair grabbed the ropes. Flair and Arn then tried to wear down Sting, and he couldn't make the hot tag to Hulk Hogan. Fans chanted Hogan sucks when Hogan was in the ring. It wasn't so loud, but there was a group of fans in the front rows that were chanting Hogan sucks in Flair country. Flair would get a pop every time he came in. When he put on the figure four, he got a pop too. Arn and Flair, meanwhile, double team Sting in the ring. Arn tags in Flair, who breaks down the leg some more. Another take to Arn Anderson, who clears Hogan out of the ring. He was barely in a torture rack by Luger. Luger came to the ring and did a torture rack on Hogan outside the ring. The ref didn't see it. Sting and Arn Anderson were distracting the official. Sting manages a hot tag to Hogan, who was booed, and the crowd goes nuts for Arn when he takes care of Hogan. Arn hits a spine buster, but Hogan no-sells it and hits the leg drop. Sting hits a stinger splash in the corner at the same time, and they get the 3 count. Savage hits the ring, and I rate the match 3 stars and a quarter. Sting punched him. Hogan doesn't know what's up. Hulk Hogan and Sting and Savage already go to blows. They go to see each other as Hogan and Sting win the match, but Savage is wondering why Sting is wondering why Savage punched him, and it's because he got pushed into him, and they didn't mean anything by it. Hogan is saying that the Dungeon of Doom and the Horsemen are going to take everyone apart if they don't chill, and Savage says he's the king of overreacting, but everyone needs to take a chill pill, and yeah, that's what he said. So Sting agrees. They all shake hands, but Bobby Heenan and Bischoff all say that it's not as cool as they're making it seem. So last week in the TV ratings, Raw won 2.6 to 2.4, but this week it's a 2.6 to 2.5 win for Nitro. WCW wins the week and now is 6 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws through 14 weeks of the Monday Night War. Quality rating, I gave it a 5 out of 10 Nitro last week. This week I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Some good wrestling on this Nitro, and they built to next week where the Giant will meet Savage for the world title. So thanks to anyone who's watching these. Like I say, I keep them archived in my account. Nitro with Nitro, the Old Raw with Old Raw. I stick up to date with these, so I always post them beside each other, so you can watch these when you rewatch the Monday Night Wars if you ever decide to do so. And I always post them beside each other so you can see which one went up against which one, which show had what on it, and what the countering opening promos were, what the main events were. You get to see what went up against what, because I always post them both at the same time. So that's Nitro Week 14. Tune in to Week 15. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.